Andrew's going to give us a thumbs up. He's just starting online. All right. So good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Norfolk School Committee on Tuesday, May 17th to order. As we begin all of our meetings, we'll start by reading the mission statement. The Norfolk Public Schools offer a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the needs of our diverse students. Through school, family, and community partnerships, we provide an education that inspires lifelong learners and cultivates caring and productive citizens of our ever-changing world. We'll start with roll call, and we have a new member to welcome today. So welcome to Lisa Sheldon. If you want to just share with the committee and introduce yourself, a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thank you. I'm excited to be here for my first meeting. Lived in Norfolk for almost 6 years now. I have two boys, Ryan, who just turned 8 this past week. He's in first grade. And Nate, who is in pre-K and getting ready to enter the big world of kindergarten. So looking forward to working with you all.
Great. Thank you. So we'll start with roll call. Vicki?
Victoria Soldano,
Lisa Sheldon.
Sarah Ward,
Shannon Meneses,
Jennifer Witt,
Medora Champagne.
Ingrid Alardi. All right, tonight we'll begin the meeting. I am seeking a nomination to elect a new chairperson for the Norfolk School Committee. So if anybody has a nomination.
I'd like to nominate Medora Champagne.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, then we'll move to vote.
You can discuss amongst yourselves.
Would you like to discuss further? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Medora.
And nobody. All right. All right, Medora, I'm going to turn it over to you to solicit nominations for the remaining open positions.
Okay. Also, thank you. I will try to bring a Thomas Doyle level of chill decorum to the role. Do my best, at least. So at this point, we need to continue kind of filling the positions on the committee and reorganizing. So I'm looking for a motion to nominate a vice chairperson, and I will go ahead and nominate Jennifer Wynn as vice chair.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So I need to make an additional motion regarding the recording secretary. I would like to nominate, as we have in the past, Adrian Smith to be the recording secretary of the Norfolk School Committee.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So then, this is where we may have a little more, well, we can do the designated bill signers.
Well, first, I think we want to do the KP representative and legislative liaison.
Then this is not in the order that.
Oh. Sorry.
That's okay. I've got
designated.
designated bill signers, but I'd much rather go on to subcommittees. So we need an individual to serve as the representative from our committee to the King Philip Regional School Committee. That individual, it was Sarah this past year. The individual who takes on that role has to attend the King Philip School Committee meetings and is actually a voting member of that committee. So you attend those meetings as well. You come back here and give us an update on kind of what's going on at the regional level, and you have voting power there as well. So it's just important that you're able to actually attend those meetings if you take the role.
And it's once out of the twice a month, right?
That's twice a month.
It's twice a month. In some elementary districts, the rep commits to going at least once, but if you're not there, then they sometimes don't have a quorum for a vote because they need a certain member representation from each town. Sarah's done it in the past.
I've done it for the last 2 years, and I would love to do something else.
I do so.
I can nominate myself.
Well, I nominate Jennifer Wynn to be the
Okay.
King Philip Regional School
It's time.
representative. It's vested interest. So I do technically need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. And then we will also need to reorganize the budget subcommittee and the policy subcommittee. The budget subcommittee typically meets after our school committee meetings. So immediately following, we usually begin meeting in mid-October was what I was going forward to discuss projections for the subsequent school year and budget allocations and kind of negotiations with the town and kind of what's new. On the budget front, it gets a little more intense as you get closer to budget time. So historically, I've been on the budget subcommittee. I'd love to stay on the budget subcommittee. Last year, Thomas was on the budget subcommittee, so we'll need at least one more.
I have a background in finance.
I nominate Lisa
That could be
Sheldon
There you go.
as one of the budget subcommittee members. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Someone has to nominate me.
I nominate
Or not.
nominate Medora for budget subcommittee.
Second? Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, there we go. So policy subcommittee. I think Jen has the longest tenure on policy subcommittee. If you want to give sort of a rundown of how that meeting schedule works and what goes on there.
So usually we meet about 45 minutes before regular school committee meeting, so 6:15, and once a month in the conference room next to Ingrid's office. And you go over, she brings the suggested policies that need to be updated from MASC, and you talk about them. And then you bring it forth to the committee.
I liked policy subcommittee.
So, well,
I
you
said I
both have
enjoyed
to be
being
on
on
it.
Yeah, I enjoyed being on.
That's all that's left.
I'm going to make one motion. I nominate Sarah Ward and Shannon Meneses to be on the budget subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
You said budget.
I'm sorry, the policy, thank you, the policy subcommittee. Thank you, Jen. We can call it out for parliamentary procedure. So I need a second again then, since I fixed it.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor now?
Aye.
Okay, so that's all of the subcommittees.
There's one additional that we may want to consider adding this year, and that would be a temporary building subcommittee, as we have just received funding from the town to move forward with the feasibility study for a building expansion project, and the spending and the oversight of that project will fall to the school committee. So in the past, when we had the roof project, we had a 2-member subcommittee that would meet just to keep updated and bring information back to the full committee. So I don't know if we want to do that now, or we want to wait till we award the bid for that and get that process started. That's up to you.
If we're here and we're forming
I'd be willing to
subcommittees.
do it.
Okay. Me too.
Okay. I'd be happy to do, I've been on it in the past, I'd be happy to do it. If we want to fight over it, we can fight over it.
No fighting.
No fighting. No fighting.
So does one of you have a really strong feeling about it, or it was just sort of you'd be happy to do it?
I'd be
kind of?
happy to do it.
Okay.
I think having Medora on it would be a benefit because she's gone through some of the procedures before. So I would think that I would like to
I'll
nominate
wrestling for
Medora
it.
to be on it.
Why don't you
Make a motion.
Sarah and Shannon, why don't you rock, paper, scissors for it, and then we'll just make a double. I'm so bad at
Rock, paper, scissors.
I went too soon.
Sarah.
Okay.
This is the most riveting Norfolk television ever.
We've never had 3
Usually
volunteers
are-
for a
yeah.
2-man subcommittee. This is insane.
Do you want to take
Can someone who is not going to be part of this make the nomination then? For both of us to the subcommittee?
Sorry.
Yeah.
It went down the wrong throat. I nominate Medora Champagne and Sarah Ward to be on the building subcommittee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sarah may change her mind after the first meeting. Okay. So I think do we need to do this bit with the bill signers?
You
as
do.
well?
So
Okay.
we have to have a designated bill signer and alternates who are able to sign the warrants. And you can, in the past, we've had the chair be the designated and then the remaining members of the committee all as alternate signers.
I think that's preferable so that.
If somebody's not in
Barbara's
town,
stuck.
we don't hold up bill
No, you
paying.
can sign it. Okay. So I need a motion to designate the chair as the bill signer and all other committee members as alternate bill signers.
So moved.
Need a second.
There you go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Wonderful. Moving on. That was A lot of reorganizing. Moving on, we have public comment. I do not see anyone here that I think wants to, no public comment, no. So we will move past public comment. Hope to see you all in the future for public comment. And then we move on to correspondence. So we have some correspondence from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees seeking a delegate to be the delegate to MASC and the conference that they hold in November.
Yep.
Is that usually when it is?
Wednesday, November 2nd is their voting day.
Okay, so typically, MASC is a great organization. A lot of sort of policy and statewide initiatives of how to sort of implement policy in public education. The conference is really interesting. I think there's a voting day, and then it's usually actually like a 3-day event that you can actually go to. Really informative sessions about a lot of different topics, kind of in the education space and school committee space. So I know I've been a couple times. I think Sarah, did you go?
I went the past 2 years.
You went both? Okay. I cannot commit to being available on weekdays right now, so I'm not probably interested in doing it. If anyone else has Shannon, do you have a desire to?
I'm happy to do it. I did enjoy it. So.
Okay.
And I actually both times it's been virtual. I think because of COVID, so I haven't been in person. So I'm happy to do it if no one else wants to.
So
I'll make a motion to nominate Shannon to be our mass delegate appointment.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And then you need an alternate delegate.
Oh, and now we will need an alternate delegate in the event Shannon is unable to attend for some reason. Anyone else interested?
I should be able to make that work.
Okay, all right, so nomination for Lisa to be the alternate is what we need? Motion?
I motion to make Lisa the alternate for the mass delegate.
All right, seconds?
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful.
You have to sign.
Okay.
I don't think we've done this much voting in the beginning of a meeting.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Welcome to your first meeting.
All sorts of stuff to do. Do you happen to, I'm toggling around, do you happen to have a paper copy of the agenda that I could just, that way I won't be flipping around, losing my place quite so much, hopefully. All right, so.
We're on donations.
All right, wonderful. Donations. Love donations. So we have an attached spreadsheet to the exhibit that is outlining the donations we're going to be looking to accept. So we have the 6th grade promotion committee with a very generous donation, $2,000 for Camp Borndale. NCL is providing a $3,000 internet safety grant to the district.
Yeah, that will fund a full day with Katie Greer, who has been before, who does presentations for all of the students on internet safety and cybersecurity, and then she'll do an evening event for parents. We had a huge turnout of parents that came last time, and KP ran something earlier this spring. She's outstanding, and she really helps parents know how to keep your child safe. So they're funding that presentation.
That's fantastic. And then $500 from the Norfolk PTO for the donation for MCBA books for the Freeman Kennedy School for a grand total of $5,500 of donations to be accepted. So we are looking for a motion to accept those donations.
I move to accept the donations.
Second?
Any further discussion? No. Other than a very hearty thank you to everyone making the donations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Motion passes. We move on to section D, which is the school committee chair report. I think it's going great so far. I'm having a good night. So just finish that one. We're already on to section E.
All right.
Okay. On to Ingrid's portion of the entertainment. Yes.
So we have several items to talk about tonight. The first, I wanted to give the committee an update on the COVID-19 situation in both of our schools. As you know, I sent a letter out to the community last week in Wednesday's Words, letting them know that we have seen a pretty significant increase in cases recently at both of our schools. We reported last week, I believe, 25 new cases at the Freeman and 13 at the H. Olive Day, which is significantly up. The prior weeks, we had been reporting 3 or 4 cases per building. This is not unlike what's going on across the state. We're hearing many districts are seeing an increase in the number of cases. So we've put some additional mitigation measures in place. Our goal, obviously, is to try to keep our kids and our staff in school. We really want to end the year successfully. So what we've done to date is we are asking teachers to keep the classroom windows open wherever possible so that we can increase ventilation. I've been working with our facilities director to look at our HVAC systems. We have fairly robust systems in our big common spaces like the gym and the cafeteria here at Freeman Kennedy. We've been able to adjust those, so we're actually bringing in 100% outside fresh air into those 2 larger settings. We are maximizing, based on the weather conditions, how much outside air we can bring into both buildings and the classrooms. As you know, we don't have universal air conditioning in either building, so as it gets hotter, we have to balance keeping the classroom conditions temperate for students and bringing in fresh air. So we're maximizing the amount that we can bring in each day. When possible, our teachers are also taking students outdoors, whether it's for read aloud or for snack time, so that they get fresh air. We have re-implemented some physical distancing in classrooms. So while students can still work together for small group instruction or with partners, we have space between the desks in the classrooms to prevent in-classroom spread. We have also sent reminders out to all of our families that when students are presenting symptomatic or when they're sick, they have to stay home from school. And we reminded people of what the symptoms of COVID-19 are and what they should be watching for. So all of that information went home last week. We are keeping masking as a personal choice for students and families, although we are encouraging students and staff members to wear masks while we're experiencing this higher case count. We're monitoring the situation closely with both our nurses as well as consulting regularly with the public health nurses that support both Rentham and Norfolk. I know it's came up since I wrote this memo that we are working on getting our kids to Bourne-Dale. They leave tomorrow. As many people have probably heard, we did have some chaperones who are no longer able to attend the trip. Obviously, as case counts go up, different people have to quarantine or have different requirements. Lisa Altham-Hickey has worked really hard to try to recruit new volunteers to cover those cabins. We did have a requirement per the school committee policy and per the state that anybody chaperoning an overnight event has to be fingerprinted, and those are not immediate results. So we really had to find people who had previously been fingerprinted that could serve. But all of the cabins are covered. We have students, as you probably pulled in today, we have kids bringing and dropping off their luggage. They're boarding it onto the buses. Our kids are really looking forward to this trip, so we're thrilled that they're able to go. We did offer all parents, when they dropped off their luggage, a set of 2 COVID test kits, and we're encouraging students to test prior to leaving for the trip and also upon return on Sunday before coming back to school. But that was optional. Lisa reported probably 90% of our families have taken those tests, and others, some have tests at home, or students have recently recovered. So I think we have a high rate of participation, which will help us keep our kids and all of our staff members safe as they travel. So looking forward to waving and seeing the kids off tomorrow as they head to Bourne-Dale. The last thing I wanted to share as we head into the final weeks of school, as you all know, we typically have a number of special events. So things like end-of-year band concerts. For the kindergarten, we have a memory show, which everybody you haven't been there yet? Kindergarten? Oh, you did. Your first grade.
No, we got canceled.
Oh, right, because of COVID.
It's amazing.
It's a really nice special event for our families, and we love to have those opportunities for families to come in and see their kids perform and celebrate the work that they've had. I am a little bit concerned if cases continue to trend up. As you know, probably through the CDC is only issuing county-wide data, and the Norfolk County has been in the red for a couple of weeks now, indicated as a community with high transmission rates. The state of Massachusetts no longer issues color-coded ratings, but they do release case data. So we know, based on the criteria they had in place prior, and based on other agencies that also identify what they would consider high risk, pretty much the standard is when you have a daily incidence rate of over 25 cases per 100,000. So that is when a community is typically considered to be at higher risk for transmission. Norfolk is not there yet. I believe, was it 21.3?
Very close.
Like 21.3 is the daily incidence rate last reported when we reported last Wednesday. If the community goes into the red and the county is in the red and we see spikes in cases in the school, I'm concerned about us being able to move those events forward. We don't want to have to transition to a virtual platform because we've missed out on so much. So we want to be able to host them. That said, I would like to ask the committee to consider, should we be in that situation where we have very high rates of case counts both in the town as well as the community as well as in our schools, and we need to think about alternate measures in order to be able to run those events live in person, to consider allowing us to implement a mask requirement for visitors. It wouldn't be for all of our children. Our children are together practicing these events on a daily basis for the concert. But the concern would be if we're in high rates of transmission, bringing hundreds of people, and also for those events, people usually come with grandparents and other relatives, older siblings. We only have a couple of small venues. We either do them in the gymnasium or the cafeteria. Those are small spaces for a large audience. CDC does encourage communities and districts, if you are at a high risk for transmission, to consider alternate mitigation measures such as masking for indoor events. So I would request the committee consider that. I would only be looking to do that. We would explore all other options first. Obviously, if we can move an event outside and hold it safely, we would do that, for band concerts or for anything. We would also increase HVAC, keep doors open, but if we are in a high risk of community transmission, I would have to work with the Department of Education. I would have to talk to our local health nurses. My concern is if they felt that there was too much risk involved, that they would maybe want us to transition to a remote event. And if we had additional mitigation measures we could potentially put in place that would allow us to run the events, I think that would be in the best interest of the district. So I would ask the committee, if we were in that situation, to allow us to work with our public health officials, the Norfolk Board of Health if appropriate, as well as our nurses, to consider adding additional mitigation measures to allow us to run those events live in person. Happy to take questions or however you want to move forward.
So why don't we get a motion out there, and then we can have discussion. I'm sure we will have discussion. So we would be looking for a motion to give the district discretion to require masking for indoor events involving members of the public or district families coming into the building in a scenario where the alternative would be canceling or holding a virtual event.
So moved.
I know, I don't want to repeat that.
I had a hard time coming up with it.
I should have listed it as a motion for you.
So moved.
Okay, so we have a second?
Second.
Okay. So I'm sure there's discussion, and questions, which is wonderful. So anybody?
No, I think it's a well laid out plan, and you're consulting everyone you can consult. So I don't personally have any questions, but
I have some thoughts.
I just want to say back, and I will this will circle around, just back to Borndale for a second. I want to say thank you to Lisa Altamhickey and the school nurses and Mrs. Menson to say that they have gone above and beyond and tried to work the intricacies of this is an understatement. And I just want to say thank you so much of doing that, because I do believe the end result will be extremely positive after some of the things that have been kind of taken away by COVID for these kids. So I want to say thank you very much for that. I know that we decided that when case counts rose, that we would discuss this again. So I'm glad that we're here discussing it. I'm wondering though how. And I know what we all have to take care of, right? It's a huge responsibility to take care of kids. I just ran a Girl Scout event of like 500 people in a ballroom, someone's special dance. And we came up, and it's very nerve-wracking. The rates are up. What do we do? So I understand we have a lot of considerations to think about. One of the things that came up at my event, and again, all Norfolk people, so I feel like I have a good handle on the community. How is this enforceable? Because we looked at called our town Department of Health. They're not recommending anything. Our Girl Scout, our state Girl Scout committee didn't recommend anything. DESE does, I mean, we had no town guidance, not guidance, but authority, no state authority, no federal authority to kind of back us up. And my concern is that we put administrators who have gone through so much, and I know kids have too, and nurses in the enforcement. How will this be enforced?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. So the school committee does have the authority to set policy for the district and
Right.
to set expectations for that.
Absolutely.
So you would have the authority to determine that under certain conditions, we would require the public to mask. And we would have to communicate that to families. And we've enforced it before. I mean, all last year, we had to enforce a visitor policy where people had to be masked when they were in the school building at any time.
So did you turn them away, or?
We told people they had to mask to come into the building.
Yeah, we've turned people away at the library.
Yeah, at the library too. So my hope is that we don't have to consider this. I would say that I spoke to both nurses today, and we collect the data weekly, so we report out on Wednesdays. They do believe the cases are going to be lower, slightly lower at Freeman and probably a bit more down at HOD next week. So if that's the case and we start trending down out of this, it's a non-issue.
I pray.
But, I certainly do too. I also think I would caution what we've done in the past is if Norfolk has a daily incidence rate of over 25 for 1 week, we wouldn't make an immediate decision that everything had to go. We really look for multiple weeks. So I would not be surprised if we're over 25 daily incidences in this Wednesday's report because of the large number of cases we reported last week. So I wouldn't want to react just to that one data point. I'd want to wait another week. Most of these events aren't scheduled till June. If we were consistently for a couple of weeks over that threshold that's considered to be high risk, then I would reach out to both of our school nurses to take a look at conditions in the schools, but also the public health nurses that represent and get their advice and direction. If they said, we still feel it's safe to go forward, I wouldn't do this. I would only do it under the direction of our public health and our school officials based on that threshold criteria. And again, only if there wasn't another alternative. Like the band concerts, we could potentially move right to the field, and then it's a non-issue. But there are some special events that are really hard, like the kindergarten memory show where we need a screen and you have technology. I would just hate to have to say, in talking with public health, that we can't put this in place in time, and so I would have no option other than to consider rescheduling. And rescheduling is hard at the end of the year because we have so many other things scheduled. So that's the only disadvantage. I certainly am open if the committee would rather not vote on this at this time and would rather consider reconvening should the conditions change and we need to make that decision. The only caution that I would put out there is that for us to have a meeting, we have to give 48 hours notice to the public, and we need a quorum. So we could consider going that route if the committee was committed to being available should that arise and we have a quorum. And again, case data comes out on Wednesday, so if we have a concert or something planned on the Friday, I don't have time to react. I don't have, we wouldn't have 48 hours to have a meeting.
But you said you'd be looking at several data points over time. So we really wouldn't, would it be a 2-day turnaround?
Well, we're going to know this week on Wednesday if we're in the red.
Yeah.
Then I'll wait for next week
Yeah.
to consider.
Yeah.
So we get the data from the districts
Right.
comparatively on
Right.
Wednesdays.
Right. But it's not quite June yet when a lot of those
No,
June.
but we might
12th
come down a week and then go back up a week.
Yeah.
And
So
that's the
it's
Wednesday prior to a holiday weekend. when
Yeah.
People are
So-
leaving.
I mean, I would be fine with the policy as proposed because I think worded appropriately, it's a last resort measure to avoid having a virtual event. I mean, and that virtual event would be at the direction of a public health authority or the Department of Education.
Yeah.
So in the event the Department of Education or the Board of Health, public health nurses,
Public
or
health nurses and
some
school nurses.
external authority, that you are not making this choice in a vacuum, and there are data points over multiple weeks showing a high incidence of spread, and the alternative is holding a virtual kindergarten memory show, or you just require masking. I much would have preferred to, well, I had my kindergarten memory shows, but
But to make it clear, it's not the children.
Right, it's
No,
It's the
it's
adults that are
visitors. I don't know.
coming in from.
people who are not part of the day-to-day school community
That, the bubble,
in each
the bubble.
building.
Yeah.
The bubble.
And I spoke with the nurse, I spoke with Barbara today, and we both felt that we wouldn't get a lot of additional protection for having kids mask at that event because they're together in the classroom all day. Do you know what I mean? But it's all the
playing
external people
instruments
coming
at
into a
the
small space that could increase risk. But again, if the committee would prefer to wait and monitor conditions and agree to reconvene, we would just have to have the commitment that, that multiple people are able to attend and make those recommendations.
I think I understand and I appreciate the request, and I recognize that voting yes would give the district the ability to be flexible and act quickly and pivot if necessary. But I also feel like a yes vote on this would set a precedent that I'm okay with potentially making modifications or exceptions to our policy so that it goes above and beyond what's required by law when it comes to masking. And I think because this is such an emotionally charged issue for so many in the community, if you think about how many people attended the masks meeting versus how many people are here tonight.
Get used to this.
I think that green-lighting the possibility of taking a personal choice warrants a full review of state requirements, a real-time update from the school public health nurses to us, and an in-depth discussion and debate of every single other option possible before we can take actions like this. Because I know you don't want to bring masks back. I know it's the last resort for everyone. But for the past year when school committees were asked and pushed on these mask mandates, you could say DESE decided this, you could say the state decided this. But that's not what's happening now. We're in control now. And if a parent ever asked me, why did you vote to allow my right to choose when it comes to my medical decisions to be taken away, the only acceptable answer for me is I didn't. And the only other answer that would come close to that would be because I personally exhausted every single other option and I had no choice, which would be the case if it came down from the state, right?
If I could, if we're just discussing,
Yeah.
we're basically saying in the motion, the only other alternatives in which masks would be applied would be the event is held virtually or the event is canceled.
Right, but says who? That's what I would want to know, and that's what I'm unclear on. If does the CDC say it or recommend it? Do the public health officials say you can't do it, or do we recommend it?
Well, my impression from Ingrid is she's saying we would be being told by either the Department of Education. or
We
the Board of
always
Health that we
consult
cannot do
with
it.
our public health nurses who report to the Norfolk Town Board of Health. The Board of Health in Norfolk's it's a volunteer board, so they don't have they meet and convene when they need to. So they generally follow the direction of the public health nurses. We don't make any decisions without calling the public health nurses, reviewing all of the data. Generally, there's multiple people on the call, and we review and explore options. So I would be making a recommendation based on consulting first with our school nurses and then with the public health nurses on conditions.
And I guess what I'm saying, if this is in our hands now and we're making that decision and we're taking that away, I feel like we shouldn't be involved in those decisions in the very end, till the very end, because right now we're just dealing with hypotheticals that could happen in the future, and I understand why we're doing this. I really do. I really appreciate why. But, if something crazy happens and it's absolutely necessary, why can't we schedule a meeting for a day or two before the event, put it out there 48 hours in advance, and say to the community, we walked through every single option and we explored every option to keep your choice intact. And I know people want to come. I know grandparents are coming. We've talked about the effectiveness of one-way masking with N95s. People have so many options right now. I think it is premature to put masks back on the table at this time. I think we owe it to the sixth grader who wants to walk across the stage and see their parents and smile and make that connection and get the smile back. I also would hate to see this go virtually, but I think it's too far out. I do. I would rather meet closer to the events so we can look at people in the eye and say, we walked through every single possible option. It was either this or go virtual.
I think we're all around here in June.
Yeah, I'm happy to
I'm
meet
fine
again.
if
And I
people are
just-
willing to meet. I just, the only risk you have
I
to
know,
know
that's
is
my
that we
concern.
may have an event coming that we don't have the time to respond. And in that case, I may have to transition it to virtual if we can't reschedule. But I understand both perspectives, and if the committee feels better waiting until we have more information. Now, I can't tell you that if we convene a meeting, I can guarantee the public health nurses' availability. I will certainly report out based on the conversations, but that's fine if that's the
I
way.
think reporting
And I hope
out
we're
from-
coming down, so I'm hoping we're not in this.
Well, I also hoped that nobody in my family would test negative coming back into the United States, but that didn't happen. Positive. Never mind. But I'm saying, like, I just give up. Like, I made a bad joke, but yeah, I mean, I hope so too, and I hope we don't get to that point. And I know being cautious is so important when it comes to children and running a large place like this. But I also know I'm worried about, again, the enforcement. I'm worried about a social emotional toll, again, seeing, as you walk across. I'm worried about the social emotional toll. And I just I'd rather wait and really know that I can have this conversation with a constituent to say, you know what, we didn't jump back into it. We we talked about this, we weighed, virtual or not, and we really, we didn't want to fearmonger, but we really waited until the data, and here's what the Department of Health said. Here's what our school nurses said. I'd rather wait.
Could we preemptively schedule some meetings ahead of some of these events and then just cancel them if we don't need it, or?
I mean, there's a number of events that are clustered together. I can take a look and.
Just so that we know that that's the day we'd have to meet to make a decision, so that we can
Like
try
before
and...
are they all sort of in the same week?
They're spread out over the last 3 weeks of June. So, because kindergarten gets out a week earlier than
that's
everybody
right.
else, because they do kindergarten screening, so their events are a little earlier in June. Like I said, I don't have a problem waiting. I understand the position the committee is in as well. This is a highly charged topic. We would only be making that recommendation. As I said, other districts are looking at this now too. People are struggling with this where you have high case counts. People are talking about limiting attendance, one parent per event, things like that, which also has an implication. But I'm fine if you want to wait and look at the situation as it happens and consider alternatives, as long as there's enough people to have a quorum and
I think it's
we
just
can
about being
respond.
like, transparent too, is what we're trying to do, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Just to make sure that everybody's really aware of like the potential situation. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Rescheduling events, you know what I mean, as we all know, but it is challenging for schools because it's not that easy. You can pick up an entire thing and just move it to a different day. There's a lot of other things that, you know what I mean, kind of come into play.
I was part of 6th grade
Yeah.
graduation.
Really tough to do a field day
It was like
and-
we were waiting to
Yeah,
be,
it's-
we were,
it's,
it was like being on
so
jury duty. You never knew what was
would
going to
it-
happen.
So I know this might be a pain, but everything that comes with COVID the last few years is a pain. Nothing is easy anymore. Could we find a middle path and meet back in 2 weeks? Whether, I don't even know if we could do it virtually, but or come down here. I don't mind. Come back in 2 weeks, and this way we're a little bit more transparent. Like, hey, we might do this, but you have to realize that the reason if we go with masks is because there's a high COVID count, and as well as we don't want to go virtual. We don't want to limit attendance. Like, I feel that we need to digest this a little bit.
Yep, that's
And come
fine.
back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the week of Memorial Day.
All right. How about the first Tuesday in June?
Is that?
That's the 7th.
That's the
and
7th.
You have
That's too
KP
late.
that night.
Oh,
Too late.
already?
Yeah, there's a KP meeting that night.
But you know what about this? How about this?
Thursday?
We could meet that
Thursday
first week
after
of
Memorial
June.
Day, because we'll have this week, next week, and that week's data points.
And will
there's
that be
one-
a week before?
You'll have three
We'll
more
have
data
3 weeks
points.
worth of data points.
So if we met on June
do you mean?
2nd,
Or do we meet Wednesday evening?
I can't meet on Wednesdays.
Oh, okay. Never
so
mind.
there you go. That's the night of the chorus and the beginner band
Okay, so that's
concert.
not.
So that's an
not
event that we would have to
Okay.
be weighing in on.
What, June 1?
Yeah, how about we do this? Why don't we wait to see where we are this week, and we can look at the data from next week, the 25th, And then if
So we
we
meet on
need
the
to,
26th.
schedule a meeting, even the 26th or 27th, so that we could make a
meet
timely
We could
decision.
meet via Zoom. And
Yeah.
just, okay.
And again, if case counts are trending down, and we're coming out of this, it's not a concern. It's just, I don't want to be in the situation we were in before.
Yeah, we'll just
We just cancel in that case?
Yeah, so we could schedule a meeting
Or
for
we
the
have a
26th,
5-minute
May
meeting
26th. Let me
with
just
three
make
people.
sure yeah, we can schedule a meeting for May 26th.
And I appreciate the flexibility from everybody. It's just, and I know that when dealing with large amounts of people, you have to be as cautious as possible. I really do understand
It
that.
is, just so you know, the night of the 26th is the night we're supposed to be hosting the literacy night and author visit for
And
HR.
I can't make that night unless we do it earlier. I have a trustees meeting. Can we do it earlier? I don't know what everyone's schedule is like.
Grade 5th, Hall of Fame is the 25th.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
There's just a lot of events.
Yeah, there's
coming.
just a lot of
Are
stuff.
parents invited?
Yeah, there's an evening.
Oh, I'm not in 5th grade.
The moment of panic.
Like, I remember yelling at my child about that a long time ago. What are you talking
I
about?
don't have a fantastic dream, but if we could be strategic.
I don't know. It's just a suggestion. I mean, if people want to.
Is anyone going away for Memorial Day, or would the 31st work?
31st is fine.
That's fine.
It's a Tuesday.
Would that give us enough data points?
That would,
May 31st.
it would be the same as if we met on the 26th, so.
Right, we'd have the.
Yeah, it means there's two events that happen prior to that meeting, the
Hall of Fame
and
and the
the
literacy night?
literacy event. As long as cases are coming down, I would see those events going forward. If they're coming up, then, and we're at risk, then those may have to transition to a different format.
So there are events before we can.
Well, if you look at last week's data and then the data that comes out tomorrow, would you be able to see enough of a trend to decide if we need to meet next week?
I mean,
Ahead of
I'm
those?
hoping that the case numbers will be down next week.
Yeah.
But as I said, the data is looking at a week, and then last week we reported high. And so when they're looking at the daily incident rate over 2 weeks, it might come up next week artificially and then come back down.
Well,
Looking at this week
on
and the
the-
week prior would be the worst data
Yeah.
set.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You worded that better. Thank you,
Would
Madar.
those opposed to voting yes, would you be willing to vote for like a temporary through the two programs on the 25th and 26th and then reevaluate the week after for the rest of the school year, or
Oh, I see what you're saying.
just with the
So do
Hall of
like a
Fame and the,
two-part-
just for
a
those two
two-parter?
events that are that before Memorial Day, giving Ingrid the ability to,
So that they don't have to go virtual.
So we make two separate motions. We could have one motion regarding those events, and then another motion from that point forward. Is that,
well, we'd meet again.
we'd meet again.
Meet
Well,
again
to
once
vote for the
those
rest of the
we'd
events
have a
are
motion
over.
to meet again once those events. Okay,
Right, yeah.
I get it. Okay.
So meaning if tomorrow's data's in the red, those two events are in jeopardy? Is that or no?
I think we'll look at tomorrow's data, and then we'll look at the trends as they continue into the following week.
Yeah,
But
it's
if
just
we're seeing a continuing increase, and Norfolk is over 25 incidents a day, I'll only have one weekly data point from
And it's
the,
at 48 hours is what makes it really
Yeah,
tricky.
Right.
yeah.
That's, yeah.
right.
And when is the first event?
The 25th.
And then the 26th is we can't meet that night. So we'll be better.
So the 25th we have literacy
Hall of
night.
Fame.
The Hall of Fame. Sorry. Hall of Fame.
26th is literacy night.
Yep.
26th is literacy night.
And Hall of Fame will not be outside?
I mean, we would look at that. Like, right now, we're hoping these events go as
Yeah,
scheduled,
yeah.
and that our cases come down. If the Hall of Fame, we could consider moving that outside and
Kids have
exploring those
presentations.
options.
I mean, it's not like, not anything's out,
Is
but
that like
just
a poster board, though?
Yeah, they're gonna,
It's not
they're
like
gonna
a.
do, yeah, so it's like, I mean, you could potentially, but if it's like
Not like a
windy.
microphone.
But if it's
I mean,
raining.
that's silly, but, if it's raining, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it's just a couple.
I mean,
make
why
it
don't,
easier, Yeah.
We can, if you want, we can leave it and try to meet on the 26th. Hopefully, those two events will be able to go forward. If we see a significant increase in cases this week and we see that trend continuing, then I can reach out to the committee and see if we could potentially meet on Monday, the 23rd.
And then we would just, we'd notice it Friday to meet. Yeah. I would be fine. I mean, I can pretty much meet whenever.
I'm away at a conference the 23rd and the 24th.
If we did it over Zoom, could you Zoom or you packed schedule?
It would depend on what time.
Well, we'd have.
Would it be
I
our
can do the
usual
23rd.
time?
Can you do the 23rd? Well, I'm trying to figure out if we have quorum. Can you do the 23rd?
I could do the 25th, especially, yeah.
I'm
The 25th
Yeah, so as
Wednesday?
long as 3 people can go.
Yeah, that's a cool.
just taking my kids everywhere,
Yeah.
so I'm here.
They could come down to Hyannis with me.
You always go to the good vacations.
It's a conference, not a vacation.
I could meet on the 23rd too. That would give us the 48 hours, right?
20,
We could post
yeah.
the meeting on the 20th. We could meet on the 23rd and cancel it if cases are trending down.
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
We want to do Monday, the 23rd?
I like that.
Okay. So there'll only be a single item on the agenda. It would be COVID update vote. And if I have additional information, again, that only gives me the data from Wednesday, which I expect is going to come in high because of the 2-week reporting period. But we would see what the cases continue to do Thursday, Friday, and over the weekend. So I would have a sense of where we expect the data to land the following
Why did
Wednesday.
they choose Wednesdays to release the data?
That's when the Department of Ed decided we're going to report. So we report every Wednesday, all of the new
It's to give people
cases.
is it the weekend turnaround for people?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Okay.
people go out.
Just
go
seems
away
kind of
and,
random.
Sometimes they choose
It's really
random.
awkward in this situation.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll tentatively book a meeting for the 23rd. We'll check the data this week. I'll update the committee on what it's looking like over the weekend, and then we can meet if we need to.
That's in person? I'm sorry.
Virtual.
Virtual?
Virtual, please, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And I
fine.
think, Victoria, you started to say it, I think it just being transparent about it, and that the alternative is if our first choice is not to go this route. We don't want
Absolutely
to.
not.
That is not our goal. That is not our goal to have anybody in this situation, but the alternative is canceling or
cancel.
virtual, which
Wear a mask for
wear a
an hour,
mask for a little
not
bit,
really
or
And it's visitors, not children.
Not everybody.
Not children.
so just as long, I mean, I think that's the thing people might hear is we're putting a mask mandate and a requirement in
Yep.
place. It's not children, it's visitors, people who are coming unknown into our bubble.
Yep.
And just being super transparent that if we have to go this route, our last resort,
Yes.
that it is canceling or virtual, and that is the option if we get
Right.
there.
And we're
just making
using,
it super clear.
we're using data
And that the
The only point of
decision
it
is
would
not
be to
being-
allow events to go forward
Right, it's
that we
not
might
being made in a
otherwise.
bubble.
Right, and
Right.
it's being made,
with
I mean,
outside
every-
health direction.
Everything you do and bring to us is never made in a bubble. So making sure that the public is aware of that it's really thought through thoroughly.
And I think that's really helpful at the next meeting. That would be really helpful if we're in that situation. You list out, these are the people saying we can't hold this event, just.
Yeah, I usually report to the committee the feedback from our school physician, our school nurses, the Board of Health, if we present it. Sometimes they don't have a meeting scheduled, so they don't weigh in. But we do reach out, and I would report all of that to you, what the recommendations are and what our admin team considered as options. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to meet as many times as we need to ensure that these are able to go forward. I mean, I had all of the 5th and 6th grade festivities virtual, with the exception of we did have graduation, but again, we had to limit attendance. I mean, it's just, it is nice. I wholeheartedly hope that everybody has all of their events as they have been in
They're
the
special.
past, and they're very special events. And
They are.
I had a child that didn't get to go. It was never on the table that they were going to go to Borndale, so I'm thrilled that that's happening. But I certainly want it to be done.
We're excited for them too.
Oh, I'm sure they're all really excited. I'm sure it's a pleasure to be in school
Teachers are
with them right
excited.
now.
Everybody's excited. Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, great, thank you.
So I think technically
To make a motion.
we have to vote on the motion that was made, which I think
Or you can just propose an alternate.
the alternate motion is that we're going to meet to discuss on the 23rd the same topic. So could someone make that alternate motion?
Move to meet on the 23rd virtually to discuss the COVID-19 updates.
Can I get a second?
Second.
There we go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes.
Okay, the next thing in your packet is the quarterly report from the Baiko Collaborative. Again, as you're aware, the Baiko Collaborative is a collaborative that serves about 15 districts in the area. They provide services for students who have special educational needs that aren't able to be met within the district. As members, when we send students to Baiko, we receive a reduction in tuition rates and transportation rates through the Baiko Collaborative. Under the regulations, we have to provide updates to the board. So this is just information about the activities of the Baiko Collaborative. One thing that I would advise the board is that the collaborative has been struggling financially, as most collaboratives across the state have since COVID. The districts have also started to build really strong in-district programs and send fewer students out. So we are working with the Baiko director to adjust the budget to try to close some of the budget gaps that are anticipated. So that is a current issue. I will bring you the proposed budget once that has been resolved, but we are trying to, there is a significant shortfall because Baiko runs primarily on tuitions. And we have fewer students. Last year we had 220 students. There's 199 enrolled currently. So that's a significant revenue loss. Any questions about Baiko? Okay. All right. Also under the regulations, the school committee has to appoint a member to serve on the Baiko board. It can be a school committee member or the superintendent. I have served on the Baiko board for a number of years. I was the chair of the board for a number of years. I'm happy to continue to attend those meetings and serve if you want, or you can elect a school committee member to serve. The meetings are at 11 o'clock on Thursdays, and they usually go 11 to 1. They're not super appealing usually to other people, but you need to vote to appoint somebody to serve on the Baiko board.
I move to appoint Ingrid.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Thank you for taking the 11 o'clock meetings. All those in favor? All those in favor, so we're actually legal. There we go. Okay. Wonderful.
The next thing, also under the state regulations, the school committee is responsible for appointing annually the school physician. We have worked for the past couple of years with Dr. D'Angelo. He has been fantastic. He's very responsive when the nurses have questions. One of the other things that he would do is if we have a student that has a individual health care plan, he reviews and supports the nurses in those. Advice and direction, he'll update us on things that they're seeing in the office, trends to be aware of. His tuition is $2,000 annually, and I included the job description for you if you want to see that. So it's my recommendation that we appoint Dr. D'Angelo to serve as the school physician, again, for the 22-23 school year.
Looking for a motion to reappoint Dr. D'Angelo as the school physician.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Dr. D'Angelo as a school physician.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. School committee also has the responsibility to appoint the business manager or business consultant. As you know, Mr. Hassett, who had served the district for upwards of 20 years, retired last year, and we did a search and we hired Barry Nectar to serve as our district business consultant for this year. We have a little bit of a different structure than many districts. We don't have a full-time business manager. We have an assistant manager and a consultant who comes in 1 day a week. Barry has a lot of years of experience in public education as well as in finance prior to that. He's done a fantastic job, very easy to work with, really helped us organize and plan the budget, work on developing the requests for the feasibility study. I think he's done a great job. I would recommend that we reappoint Barry Nectar for next year with the 2% salary increase that the committee's approved for all non-union employees.
Okay, can I get a motion to reappoint Barry Nectar as the district business consultant?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? I think he's been doing a great job, and I think it's great to know that going forward in his repertoire, thinking positively, he's had experience with MSBA projects.
Yes, he has, and feasibility studies.
I'm so hopeful that he gets to leverage that.
Fingers crossed,
but
right?
yeah, he's been doing a great job. So I digress. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, wonderful.
And the last thing that I wanted to mention is we typically have met on Tuesday nights. As Barry continues with us, it's a one night. He has a conflict. Now, he doesn't come to every meeting, so we have a couple of options. He would be available if we want to do Monday or Wednesday nights instead, or we could look at when he's coming, scheduling the meetings in an alternate. That's kind of what we did today, this year. When we had a budget presentation, we flexed the meeting schedule to a different night that week. But if it's easier for people, I'm flexible. I could do either Monday or Wednesday nights. I think, Sarah, you have the only reason for Mondays is that's KP's meeting night. So I think we would have to do Wednesdays, and I know that may not work for you.
Wednesday is a challenging night for my family.
Or Thursday. We could do Thursday.
If you made sure it was a Monday that fell in between the KP meetings.
Right, they're every other Monday? So we could do a Monday and oppose try to keep it opposed. And would that help you, Jen, as your...
Every Monday be gone?
Well, I didn't know if it was easier to have it be one night a week or various.
I don't know.
That sounds challenging.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be
Flex it.
to keep it at Tuesdays and flex it to Wednesdays on an as-needed basis.
Can we
I've trained my family to think it's Tuesday at this point.
That's fine. And
Where are you going?
he typically, I mean, the only problem is he's usually in attendance for the meetings November, December, January, February, because we have budget subcommittee.
Oh, no, I was
So
there.
if
I know,
we,
I know. And I know I
it's
complained
a
about
number
it, but
of
I'm
the
willing
meetings.
to do it again. Yeah.
So that's the only consideration. There'd be probably 4 months that we'd have to look at, and then he comes to the end of the year budget. So 5 of the 10.
That's okay with me. And if it's okay with my budget compatriot over there, okay, that's fine with me.
Okay. So what we'll do is when we develop the calendar, we'll schedule them for the Wednesday nights when Barry's coming and the Tuesday, so you'll have the full year's calendar up front
Yeah,
at the
that would
next
be
meeting
great.
to vote.
That'd be great.
That'd
Okay.
be great. I still don't know my fall schedule yet.
I don't know next week.
I'm not sure what day it is.
I don't know either.
All right. That's it I have tonight. I think you're on to committee updates.
Okay, committee updates. King Philip.
They've had 2 meetings since our last meeting. Let me try and get organized here, sorry. So the U.S. News and World Report came out. KP actually scored the exact same as they did last year. Not really sure how that worked out. Paul's going to give out some more. Yeah, their ranking.
What are they ranked at? Because when I first started on school committee, I think they were ranked at 16
It's like-
in the state.
So,
No, they weren't 16,
no.
25?
They're 86
They're
in
in the 80s
Massachusetts.
now.
No, when we first came, I mean, when Nathan was in school, Nathan Andrews, it was like, KP was like 16th in the state.
Really?
No.
Might have been in the
Never?
60s. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I
that I'd
don't
have
think
to
they've ever
check.
been above.
Okay. All right, never mind.
I feel
But
like
we
my
are in the
house would
top
be 3 times
12% of the U.S., so
Yeah.
positives. AP exams and MCAS have already happened at the high school and junior high. They voted on the school calendar. Marching band requests for overnights for band camp as well as nationals coming up. There was talk about the extracurricular activity fee structure and financial request forms. That was just an informational thing, not a vote. We appointed Paul to the Baiko Board of Directors. Senior Scholarship Awards Night is June 2nd. Everyone's invited. Let me find my notes from last night's meeting. I thought I was so organized when I walked in today.
Isn't the KP Pops Night coming up too? The big concert?
I think it already happened.
Oh, I missed it.
I think it already happened, but I
saw it.
think it happened at the beginning of May or something in May. Pretty sure it already happened. But last night I was a little late to the meeting because I had another meeting for work. But we just talked about the superintendent evaluations coming up and that process for the new members. That was most of the conversation, as well as just updates on the different town meetings going on. And there was a graduation update, but I missed that part. I apologize. But yeah, it was light agenda last night.
So when are they meet? What are their meetings? Mondays and
Mondays,
always Monday.
Always Monday.
Every other Monday.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay.
7 to 9
They set an end
At
time?
KP Middle School.
at the high school,
At the high school.
in the library.
In the library.
Do,
Okay.
do they set an end time? Like they say they're definitely gonna, I'm
They've
just
been-
gonna be impressed if they
It's
do.
been really good since Samad took over, and then Trevor has kept it going. They're usually done by 8:30.
Oh, okay, that sounds.
It's been a lot
It's much,
more.
I'll be
much,
falling
they used to go
asleep.
till like 11 o'clock at night, so
I did
it's
not
much,
enjoy
much
those.
better.
I did not enjoy those.
Yeah.
But
Much
yeah,
more
they're-
efficient.
It's much more efficient, well organized. Then they cancel meetings if they don't need to meet, so it's been a lot better.
Because I wake up at 5, so
Yeah.
I'll be sleeping.
Tuck you in a snuggie in the corner.
The virtual meetings were tough because I was in my room and I was just like, it's 10:30.
Not last.
But no, it's been a lot more efficient and
Will you give my name to this? Was somebody give the
I will.
name?
I-
okay.
Tonight,
And then
we
she'll
will,
send me, okay.
yeah,
so
and
you'll
we
get-
have to
you'll get a
update
KP
the,
email address.
our webpage so that you're listed as the chair, vice chair, all the committee members, that's all published, so we'll do
You get to
that.
go to graduation if you want.
And then KP will list you as the rep on theirs.
Really?
Yeah, you get to go to KP graduation if you want to.
can
and,
hand-
Love to do
Get
that.
dressed up. Yeah.
If you stayed, you could hand your daughter her diploma.
That's gonna take a lot more time.
A lot of people in my neighborhood are graduating, so that's why I said, oh, I should go.
Oh, that would be fun. All right, well, thank you for that update, Sarah. No, I see you're getting ready to leave, Jen, so can we have your policy subcommittee update before you do? I feel like a teacher.
Policy update, we have not met. So
Okay.
there is no update.
Great update. Awesome. So we have some new items. We need to review and approve the school committee meeting minutes from April 12th, April 12th of 2022. So if I can get a motion to do that, that would be great.
Move to approve the minutes from April 12th.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have our next school committee meeting on Tuesday, June 14th, which is coincidentally the Tuesday of the last week of school, right?
Yes,
for the
although we
23rd.
just tentatively scheduled a meeting for May 23rd.
May 23rd, that's right.
So we have the tentative meeting May 23rd if needed,
Our next
otherwise it'll be
regularly
canceled and the next regularly scheduled will be the 14th.
Gotcha. Okay. So at this point, here we come to the end. We just need a motion to adjourn, which is usually everyone's favorite motion.
Move to adjourn.
1 second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Right, at virtual?
Yes. Yeah, would it be at